Hey guys, what's going on? It is Ash here coming at you today in Clash Royale with another Pro vs. Pro square off for you guys to enjoy. This time, it's COLTONW83. You guys know him from King's Cup. He was a second place finisher. I recently had him on a Pro Tips video that I'll link in the description today. And his opponent is Surgical Goblin, who recently came out with a YouTube channel. You guys know Surgical Goblin from quite a few of my Pro Tips videos as well. He also swept Electrify in our previous head-to-head Pro vs. Pro matchup. So it's going to be best out of 5. So first player to 3 wins will take this. And as I type hello to YouTube, they are already in a match. So let's go ahead and do this, guys. So Colton on the top, Surgical Goblin on the bottom. Again, guys, Surgical Goblin is now on YouTube and Colton is streaming on Twitch, so I'll include that link for you guys to check out as well. Both of these guys have absolutely amazing strategy content, so make sure you follow both of them as well as on Twitter. They both are very generous with their time, advice, and tips on Twitter as well, so certainly reach out to them and say that you saw them in this video. It'd be really cool. So guys, it looks like Surgical Goblin is playing a Hog Rider deck. Now, is that going to be paired with Lightning or maybe even Graveyard? I'd bet it's definitely one of the two cards. We'll have to wait and see. And Colton on the top there, you can see he just played the big fella, the Golem. So a Golem beatdown deck for Colton. And Colton has no choice but to drop the Tombstone over there to defend against that Ice Golem Graveyard combo on his right tower. Now that was a lot of damage done on that counter, and there was a very nice Tombstone to counter the Golem. And look at that, a Graveyard of Colton's own there. But Surgical Goblin is actually ready with the somewhat counter here with the Mega Minion and the archers behind the tower. Now a nice value on that fireball there, taking out the archers, doing a couple hundred damage to the tower, as well as taking that Mega Minion's HP down to about 10% or less. So a little bit of a hog push coming here by Surgical Goblin onto the left tower, only going to get 2 hits off there. Pretty timely defense there by Colton, and already just over halfway through here, both players have revealed their entire deck. So both players now trying to get a feel of the other's rotation now that they've seen every card in each other's hands. So now it's going to be obviously probably a Golem play coming from Colton here. He's sitting on max elixir, and there is the Golem. Now it's going to be a matter of getting a little bit more value in the left lane by Surgical Goblin. Surgical Goblin, of course, just going super aggressive here, devoting almost all of his elixir to the opposite lane that the Golem is coming down, forcing Colton to defend pretty strongly in that lane, and then he's using the Mega Minion and Tombstone on the opposite end to defend against that Golem. Now you see how Surgical Goblin didn't over-defend there at the end because he knew the Graveyard was coming, so he had those archers ready to place in back of his tower to defend against that Graveyard, and that looks like it might be enough to pick off the victory. Now Colton here definitely gonna need something quick, so I imagine he's gonna combo the Ice Golem in the Graveyard one last time. Oh, look at that surprise juke there by Colton, targeting the opposite tower with the Graveyard there than the Ice Golem was heading to, but unfortunately, or fortunately for Colton, Surgical was ready there with the Mega Minion and the Ice Golem defending that left tower to pick off the first victory. So look at that, guys. Who did you think would win? Okay, stop right now. Pause the video. Let me know. Who do you think is going to win here? Now, obviously, Surgical does have the advantage right now. He's up 1-0. But you guys know that Colton is very good as well, and he knows how to adjust. Now, there are no rules to this best out of 5. Either player can change any card in their decks that they want to. They can change their entire deck. Doesn't matter if you won or lost. This is just an all-out best out of 5. So we'll see if these guys stuck with the same type of decks or if they switch things up. I know that Colton really loves this Golem Graveyard deck, so I would expect that he's going to stick with it. But look at this. Surgical Goblin already showing that he's switched to his Siege deck. This was probably the deck that he used to take down Electrify on that sweep on my previous previous Pro vs. Pro video, and he's very, very good with this Expo Siege deck here. So he does a little bit of chip damage to that left tower, and you can see he's stepping on the pedal here. Pedal to the metal by Surgical Goblin, not giving Colton any time to save up that elixir to drop his first golem of the match. We're about 1 minute into the match so far, and there is again the Expo again before Colton even has enough elixir, to drop that golem. Now there's the Barbarian Hut on Colton. It looks like he has switched to my favorite deck, the Barbarian Hut Hog Rider deck, and if that is the case, then the last card he has should be Three Musketeers. So Three Musketeers should be the last card that Colton has, and but you know what? It's going to be really difficult in the first 2 minutes to play the Three Musketeer against this deck, because Surgical Goblin, as we just discussed, is definitely going to keep the pressure on, not allow Colton to do what he wants to do. So Ice Spirit on the river here for Surgical Goblin. That's just going to do 100 damage or so to that tower, and also cycle back to that Expo a little bit faster. A Hog Rider here is met with an Inferno Tower. It looks like it's going to be very difficult for Colton to get any damage done to his towers. It's actually a really good hard counter to what Colton's deck is trying to do. It's coincidentally the same deck that I love playing, but it's actually Colton's the guy who I got it from. So again, he's going to try with a Barbarian Hut here. And remember, guys, about 10 or so seconds ago, we just saw the rocket used by Surgical Goblin, meaning, and there it is, meaning that it's pretty safe for Colton to play the Three Musketeers all together right now, try to do some significant damage. Now, granted, look at this counter here by Surgical Goblin. He couldn't get any value, he being Colton, out of those Three Musketeers. He basically just spammed him with the Ice Golem, the Ice Spirit, and the Fire Spirits there to take down those Three Musketeers, even though he didn't have the rocket up in rotation. And it looks like, as predicted, it's going to be very difficult, given this matchup here, again, the defensive Expo play, to get any damage done to the towers by Colton. So here comes the log. I mean, look at that. Look at all the answers that Surgical Goblin has to Three Musketeers in this deck, guys. He has the Fire Spirit, he has the Ice Golem, he has the log, he has the Expo, he has Inferno Tower, rocket. I mean, everything is good to stymie the damage that would otherwise be inflicted by those Three Musketeers. So another victory for Surgical Goblin. This guy is a beast. You don't often see Colton W lose, let alone lose twice in a row, but he's definitely met his match here today with Surgical Goblin. Now, Surgical Goblin is actually the one who asked to do this Pro vs. Pro matchup, so he's definitely got an ego to defend, not in a bad way, but obviously these guys are both incredibly good, but he's seeking out players now to battle Surgical Goblin, that is. And Colton, he actually just got out of class. Not making excuses for him, but maybe he's not in the perfect clear state of mind. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see if he can pick up a W and avoid being swept for the second time in a row. Not Colton, but again, Electrify. If you guys want to see that match, I'll go ahead and link that in the description as well. Quite a few videos to link in the description, so we're just waiting on these guys to start up, the last match here, and it looks like Colton is definitely ready. It's just a matter of whether either of these guys wants to make any adjustments to their deck. It looks like they're both ready. Let's hop in here, guys. This might be the last battle. This might be another short Pro vs. Pro episode if Surgical Goblin, who is now at the top, guys, will get the W here. So right off the bat here, it looks like Colton's playing the same deck. He has that Barbarian Hut, which coincidentally happens to be one of the best counters to a Hog Rider, because look at the Hog Rider only got about 2 hits down on that Barbarian Hut, which has a deceptively high amount of hit points, and those 2 Barbarians that are automatically summoned or spawned by the Barbarian Hut are kind of chopping away at the Hog Rider, making it an absolutely lethal counter to the Hog Rider. And then of course the Barbarian Hut is there to stay to spawn another half dozen or so Barbarians, so it's a great counter. So here comes the Three Musketeers pretty early on by Colton here. Within the first minute, you've seen both the Barbarian Hut and the Three Musketeers tiers, but Surgical Goblin looks like another deck full of defensive counters. This is sort of a control deck, it looks like, if I've ever seen one, using the Hog Rider as the proxy card. So Minion Horde play here from Surgical Goblin. I'm sure Colton has some sort of an answer for that. He does in form of the Mega Minion there. So now it looks like both players are pretty familiar with what the other player is playing. Oh, and there's a Goblin Barrel, so very interesting deck. Oh, and look at that juke play by Surgical Goblin, playing the Goblin Barrel on the very first time of the match, way in back of that tower, and then the Hog Rider is able to expound on the damage done by those goblins via the Goblin Hut. So that was a pretty good push there for Surgical Goblin. He's got to be feeling pretty good about the way the first 2 minutes or so of this third match has been going. And at this point, if you're thinking what Colton must be thinking, it's got to be frustration at this point. I mean, very, very aggressive, defensive, very control-y type decks by Surgical Goblin. Granted, this one's kind of a bait deck. I mean, it has the Minion Horde, has the Skeleton Army, and of course, it can cycle to the Hog Rider pretty fast. Has the Goblin Barrel. I mean, there's a lot of offensive capability in this deck here. I called it control. You know, looking at every card here, it does have some control elements. Has the Inferno Tower, has the Log Fireball. Of course, plenty of defensive weapons in this deck, but think about it. I mean, how is Colton going to get anything to the towers here? I mean, this is actually a good push in the right lane there, but the Minion Horde is such a great defensive weapon. It seems like no matter what Colton can throw at him, Surgical Goblin's going to have some sort of an answer here. So we're going to have to wait and see if he can get anything going. He, being Colton, looks like he's just going to give up that left tower. Why not? It only had a few HP left anyway, and he needs to get something going offensively. And there's the log again. This could be, oh, and of course it couldn't be. Again, Surgical Goblin picks up the 1-0 victory against Colton, and that's going to do it, guys. It's another Surgical Goblin sweep. This guy is an absolute beast. I mean, it's just really difficult. That deck he was playing, guys, by the way, if you want to copy it, I'm going to say good game, guys. That was really good, and Colton is so good. Be sure, guys, not to underestimate how incredibly good Colton W is here. He actually, you know, he went almost unbeaten in the King's Cup tournament, and then he went on stage to face Yao Yao. Yao Yao's the only guy who could take him out, so certainly this episode, if nothing else, proves that maybe Surgical Goblin could take down Yao Yao. I don't know. We'll have to wait. Maybe, just maybe, I can bring that to you guys someday. So guys, thank you so much to our 2 pro participants here. Again, COLTONW83 and Surgical Goblin. Be sure to check them out. Say you saw them in this video. And guys, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. And as always, take care, guys.